If you have failed at dieting, I want to reframe that for you in the first 10 seconds of this video. You did not fail, the instruction failed, and we can measure precisely how badly. I'm Dr. Padda. This is why eat less, move more doesn't work, and it isn't a willpower story. A calorie is a unit of heat. It's a perfectly good measurement of what happens when you incinerate food in a laboratory bomb calorimeter. You are not a bomb calorimeter. Equal calorie portions of sugar, alcohol, steak, and olive oil do entirely different things inside a human body. They provoke different insulin responses. They trigger different satiety hormones. They are partitioned differently. Some toward immediate fuel, some toward storage. What matters is not the number on the label. It's how your body responds to that number, what gets metabolized, what gets stored, and how long before you're hungry again. Now, the measurement. Researchers followed the electronic health records of 76,000 men and nearly 100,000 women with obesity in the United Kingdom over up to 9 years of routine care. For someone with simple obesity, a body mass index between 30 and 35, the annual probability of reaching a normal body weight was 1 in 210 for men and 1 in 124 for women. At a BMI between 40 and 45, 1 in 1,290 for men, 1 in 677 for women. I want to state exactly what that is because it gets misquoted. That's the annual probability of returning to normal weight in routine primary care without bariatric surgery. It is not a controlled measurement of any specific diet, but it is the real-world result of the advice as it is actually delivered to actual patients. And it is a greater than 99% annual failure rate. In any other area of medicine, an intervention performing at that level would have been withdrawn. So what's the alternative model? Obesity is not a disease of excessive energy intake. It's a disease of failed energy partitioning. The same calorie can be burned as body heat or locked away as body fat, and which one happens depends on hormonal signaling. The primary driver of fat storage is insulin. Insulin is functionally a fat storage hormone. While insulin is elevated, fat goes into the cell and does not come out. You can create a calorie deficit and still not access your own body fat, which is exactly why people feel exhausted and hungry on low-calorie diets, while the scale refuses to move. There's a second problem with counting calories. It builds in a bias against high-fat foods, which are calorie-dense, but which suppress appetite and barely move insulin. So the calorie frame pushes you towards starch and sugar, which promote the insulin resistance that caused the problem. As Malhotra and colleagues put it in Open Heart, shifting focus away from calories and emphasizing food quality rather than quantity is what will reduce obesity and cardiovascular risk. Repeated cycles of loss and regain are their own harm. Weight cycling contributes to hypertension, insulin resistance, and dyslipidemia, and is associated with worse cardiovascular outcomes and increased mortality risk. Losing 30 pounds 5 times is not the same as losing 30 pounds once. And then there's look ahead, action for health in diabetes. Type 2 diabetics, intensive lifestyle intervention, low-calorie diet plus increased physical activity, followed for a median of 9.5 years up to 13.5. The participants lost weight. They kept off more than the control group, and the trial found no cardiovascular benefit. It was stopped early for futility. That is the calorie restriction hypothesis, tested at scale in exactly the population it should have helped most. Then there's exercise, and I need to be careful because this gets misheard. Physical activity is genuinely, powerfully good for you. It improves insulin sensitivity, mood, sleep, bone density, cardiovascular fitness, and pain. In my clinic, movement is not optional. It is just not an effective weight loss tool. Measured physical activity levels have changed very little over the past 3 decades while obesity rose dramatically. The curves don't match because exercise was never the variable, and the reason you believe otherwise is worth knowing. Food and beverage companies have pushed the physical activity message hard. It relocates responsibility from the product to the consumer. The same companies selling the processed food have sponsored the sporting events and paid the athletes. That is not an accident of marketing. It is the strategy. You cannot outrun a bad diet. Move because it makes you healthier. Change what you eat to change your weight. Last piece, and it may be the most actionable thing in this entire series, it isn't only what you eat. It's how often. In the 1970s, the average American had about 3 eating occasions a day. By the mid-2000s, that had nearly doubled. Breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack. We were explicitly advised to do this. Graze, we were told, to keep your metabolism up. Every eating occasion raises insulin. Eat 6 times a day, and insulin never comes down. Chronically elevated insulin means you are in storage mode from the moment you wake until the moment you sleep, and you never get the hours of low insulin in which your body burns its own fat. And eating 6 times a day does not produce weight loss. When it's been tested directly, increased meal frequency simply increases total consumption. So, reduce the number of times you eat. Stop snacking. This is not a new invention. It's what nearly everyone did before the obesity epidemic, and it costs nothing. Remove sugar, refined grain, and seed oil. Reduce how often you eat. Move because it's good for you, not to earn your food. That's the protocol, and it is not complicated. It's just the opposite of what you were told. If you're in the St. Louis region and you're carrying both pain and metabolic disease, we treat them together because separating them doesn't work. Padda Institute Center for Interventional Pain Management, 4477 Woodson Road, Suite 100, St. Louis, Missouri, 63134, next to Lambert International Airport. Also at 12174 Natural Bridge Road in Bridgeton. Call 314-481-5000 or text 314-886-5902. This is educational content, not medical advice. Do not change or stop medication without speaking to your own physician.